on to the text bollocks.
Yeah, you got the question this week.
Text bollocks.
Text bollocks.
Text bollocks. I got a quick question. I don't even know what the hell that was. I was trying to do something there. So it's kind of going into the VR world.
Okay.
And it's the do you think we'll end up, and this is like way in the future, a bit like your Mars thing, do you think we'll end up like Ready Player One, where VR, I know not exactly like that movie, but along the lines of people are just going into VR because it's a better world in there than it is here, you know, like so just in terms of the reason why I bring it up is because obviously we love our VR. The trailer came out a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, in the future we're going to get overpopulated. I don't know if we're going to go to Mars or wherever, and then VR headsets are so popular and eventually going to get better and better and better. Because what brought me onto that question as well was like, can you imagine when you're playing Grand Theft Auto, like photorealistic in VR? You're not really going to want to take it off, you know? And then you got your avatars, and I guess there's going to have to be a way of feeding yourself. And I'm sure there's going to be like systems where
you just pay somebody to come to your house and put mush in your mouth.
Mush in you. But no. Do you see VR being like super addictive for the human race? Like way in the future? Or
the thing with VR to me is that when we play games now, they're a lot of fun. Yeah. So they are a distraction. So it's really easy to see VR going that route. But the thing with VR is it's so conducive to doing other things than just playing a game. Yeah. Like you can learn in VR. Yeah. You can't learn it on a PlayStation. Like PlayStation is designed for gaming. Sure. Yeah. But you know, VR you can
get over your fears.
VR isn't for gaming. Just like movies aren't for comedies. True. Yeah. You can make any type of movie. Yeah. And you can make a documentary, you can make anything. Yeah. And just that's the movie. I think it's the same with VRs. You see that now with what was that Tribeca Film Festival? They had films in VR, and then the kind of stuff we play in VR, we play games. But then there's also the experiences, the ones where you're not playing, you're just kind of like watching a game or a movie thing happen, like that Face Your Fears one. Yeah, you're just kind of living the thing. But then there's also the drawing one we have, and then there's the what was that thing? The planets, like you could go around the solar system. Oh yeah,
around the solar system. Yeah,
I think it's going to turn into a learning system as much as it is an entertainment system. Yeah, I think both sides of it are going to
kind of merge.
Yeah. I don't see one side taking over the other.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm basically saying it is an escape. Do you see people escaping?
Yeah, I can see it being an escape. It's just I think it won't be as harsh.
When do you think?
Because you're also going to have to learn through it. Like schools are going to bring it in and be like, okay, we're going to do our chemistry today, and instead of giving the kids actual chemicals, you just like put your helmets on, and
this is what happens when you do this big explosion. Don't do that.
Yeah, and you reach and you pick up. It's all the exact same. And like you said, photo real.
When do you think? And I'm not saying we'll get there ourselves, but you'll spend more time. It's going to happen. Someone's going to spend more time in VR than they do in real life, like in like the regular world. You know, that's going to eventually happen. There's going to be some kind of crossover, and it's like, oh, I want to go back to, and it could be I want to go back to that bar because it's on top of that moon, which is overlooking like, and everyone.
And the other thing is, just quickly, is when we talk about VR now, it's like a headset. Oh, it used to be a giant headset. It's going to be now it's a little headset. Yeah, and eventually it's going to be a pair of glasses.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to mention was that there's Google drawing tilt brush, and that's super fun. The drawing one, that's actually really fun. Now the only reason why I don't stay in that longer is, well, first of all, is because I force myself, like I can't stay in here because it's like too, but it's because of the headset. It's a bit clunky, it's a bit big, it is heavy, but that's going to get lighter. It's going to become wireless, contacts and stuff, and when that does, and it doesn't weigh down on you, the only thing you have to think about is, to be honest, food and
taking a shit
and taking a shit, really. So I don't know how they're going to handle those things. I'm sure there's going to be like someone's going to have like a drink thing on their head and a food thing or whatever, but I just found it really interesting. We love
it's definitely going to be the same as it is now in the sense, but to the extreme. Like we go on and on about VR, but that's because games are better in VR. The games themselves are not better. Like you can't beat Wipeout or a Mortal Kombat, because that's fun to play. But whatever game is in VR is much more fun to play.
Yeah.
Even though it's not the same level. Like that Batman Arkham one. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And I was like, if they could make the whole Arkham game like this, I'd never leave.
Yeah.
I'd be in real trouble.
That's the whole thing. Real friggin' trouble.
So the extreme is that like people who are addicted to games now or have like way too many hours on games.
Yeah.
It's going to get worse in VR.
Yeah, I think so. And I do honestly 100%, again, we're predicting things here.
Yeah.
It's going to become an issue, and there's going to be regulations, and there's going to be like for I guess schools, but yes, it will be used as a learning tool, and maybe you'll go 2 hours in there for a lesson, and that's like your lesson for the day or something for chemistry. But then you'll go into a virtual classroom.
Okay, guys, let's go check out a couple of volcanoes up in Iceland. And you're like, and then they're up there and they're in like helicopters and they're standing beside the volcano, and you're like, God damn.
You're going to have like, right now when we Skype into like meetings and stuff, like NASA, if they're going to do like a meeting, they'll go and do a virtual reality meeting.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to see the full person, their reactions, and they're going to be explaining like, this is what we're doing, and this is how we're going to get to Mars. Yeah. But they're going to do it all in virtual reality.
That's the thing, because if it's the glasses, the contacts,
then
that connects you to the AR realm and the hologram realm.
Yeah.
So
there's so many dots that will connect it all together. Right now, it seems like I don't see it. It's like these big headsets. But
I have a phone and I have a headset and
here's
I have
another
a TV,
thing.
but it'll all be one thing.
Yeah, here's another thing. It's a small little update happened on Oculus recently, where you can run everyone's apps, third-party apps, Steam games, demos. You can put them all inside the apartment, which is like basically Oculus Home is your apartment. So before that, if you wanted to load up like a game from Steam, or say someone like we made our own little VR application, you'd have to take the headset off, double click on it, put the headset back on. But now Oculus have made it so that you can add it all to your apartment. So you never have to take your headset off. And that's actually a huge deal, because that happened the other day, and I added Gorn and I added all these games to it. And I realized, fuck, I don't have to take this headset off. Like, I don't need to take it off.
If you get a message.
The only time I need to take it off is when I'm done, finished with it. So that's just another step towards this VR world. And I think a lot of people will use it for escaping as well. Like, unfortunately, people get bullied and people are depressed, and people will go to VR to, fix that. It will become an addiction like smoking and like drugs.
But it's also like, you'll have a VR helmet, and then instead of having a webcam, you'll have a VR cam.
Yeah.
So when you're Skyping with somebody, you're kind of sitting in the room like we are now.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're like, if I want to talk to my family back home or whatever, it's much more of a like, I can look around the whole room and see who's there, and there's someone sitting in that chair and stuff.
Yeah, because the tech right now, they've got cameras on the front inside of VR looking at your eyes, and they've also got cameras looking at your face. And say if you've got the cameras from the VR cameras that track you in the room, so they've got technology right now that are tracking your face. So if you smile or if you frown, it will make you smile or frown in the game. Yeah. So things like that. And then we know they're coming out with VR gloves, so you're going to be able to pick things up, and you're going to be able to move individual fingers. Lone Echo, they've got the body now. Like,
you can see the legs.
You can't move the legs, but you can see them. That's another.
But eventually, the sensors will pick up the leg movements.
Yeah. So then I tell you, let's do a podcast over Skype. We occasionally do them over Skype. We'll do it in VR Skype, because half the reason why we like doing it in the room is because we can banter with each other in the room.
Well, one of the things on this topic of the getting lost inside the machine is, we've talked before about, is they're aliens. Yeah. And we went on about the theory of why we've never contacted our way. Yeah, yeah. One of the reasons people have come up with to solve the idea of the Fermi paradox, you can check it out, is that when a society gets to a certain stage of development like we're at, they make something like VR, right? And everyone just gets lost in it. And then maybe we'll build a team of robots to feed us and clean up our shit.
Matrix then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But if you're in a machine that you can forever have whatever experience you want, why leave the machine? So it's the idea that a society who looked like they were going out, like we've hit Mars and we've hit, I think, Jupiter, we have Voyager 1 and 2 out there. It looks like we're going to go out to space. And then eventually we hit this point of like, that's fine.
Yeah.
We'll just stay here.
Yeah.
And then the society just goes in on itself and it no longer expands.
Yeah.
Because you're born, you have the helmet, teaches you anything you need to know. Yeah. And then whatever you want to do, you can do.
Yeah.
So I think it's called the experience machine. It's this thought experiment of, if you can create a machine that will give you the experience of whatever you need it to, why would you ever need to go and do the experience? Because if I want to abseil down the CN Tower, I could do it in real life and die, or I can just do it in this machine where I'm perfectly safe, but I'll still feel
You'll still have
everything.
That whole feeling of doing it,
Because that's where I think it goes a little bit less from VR into full-on implant to your head.
Yeah.
It's giving you that feedback of like, oh, I'm cold, and then when you take it off, you're still in whatever room you're in, but you remember every sensation you've ever had.
Yeah, that's
so you're like, I was driving that car, and when I took that corner, I got the G-force, and I was just holding that wheel so tight.
Yeah.
You're like, you never left your room.
I know. There's people that test drive tracks in VR, and then they do the track in real life. So there's race drivers that do that. I've got people on roller coasters in VR, put them on a chair, and I move the chair, and then we've got fans. So when they go down, like the steep bit, we've blown a fan on them, but we also push the chair forward. So those little emotions, like you said, it will be an implant thing to do it, but that it all adds to the experience. But we're taking baby steps where we're getting there closer and closer, and it
gets scary to the point of like, is there a reason you would want to leave VR if you didn't have to?
And there's definitely a lot of people out there that wouldn't.
It's like, oh no, I'd love to go out and see the world. It's like, you can see the world.
Yeah.
You can see all the world.
I can go to Japan. I can go to Japan right now.
Yeah. You can go everywhere for free. Yeah. Safely and easily.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that would maybe distract people is the idea of fear or being hurt or whatever. But at the same time, if you've got a whole generation growing up with this, none of them will be like, I want to go bungee jump for real. Yeah. They're like, I'll just bungee jump in this game and it's fine. Yeah. I have all the experience of it. I
cheaper
feel
and safer. Yeah. So then you get into also human interaction and things like that, which will play a whole other role. Like, I've never experienced porn in VR, but I know that's supposed to be a massive thing.
Well, the other thing on that front of like, why would you leave it? It's just generally the reason always comes down to just being honest and genuine. Yeah, yeah. It's like, well, you didn't really climb Everest. It's like, but I was in VR for 3 weeks. Yeah. I had to like move, and I had to like, and I could feel the cold, and it was chilly, and I had to get in a tent every night, and it's like full on experience. It's like, you didn't really climb Everest. It's like, does it matter if I climbed it or not?
As long as your mind, and you know that you were there in your mind, and with the visuals. No, you didn't. Well, technically you physically did because you were moving your legs, but
I think what we're actually getting towards is a question of what is the point of being human? Yeah. Because if we could create a solar panel, perfectly sustainable world where we didn't waste anything, and then all our food was grown in labs, and then it was fed to us by robots, and we never had to work, and we weren't damaging the world anymore. There was no more pollution, which isn't impossible. We can get there. But if you got to that point where humanity is no longer a threat, and now we have these machines that let us do whatever we want, would we still have the need to actually do anything in the real world?
Yeah, I don't know.
Would we as a species be like, do we really want to send people into space? Do we really want to risk our children to go out there?
I think everyone's always going to like pioneer for something or like reach for something, but there's going to be a lack of motivation to do things for sure. Yeah.
Like, it comes down to what's our driving. Everyone's different. There will always be a few outliers that'll do whatever. But what's the driving thing that makes us make phones, make cars, make planes? Yeah, yeah. Is that we keep wanting to explore and create and discover? Yeah. Or is it the kind of, we just want to get to the point where we don't have to anymore?
No, I think I don't think
it's perfectly fine to just sit back and be like,
I think everyone's
I'm going to play Wipeout for real.
I think everyone's different, but I think people, you've got a fall to learn, and I think people, and those little things, mistakes, making mistakes to get there is fine. I don't think the majority of people, I think they're going towards a goal, and then they'll find another one, and they'll find another one. I don't think they're going to go to like a perfect world and be like, all right, now I'm going to sit down back with a newspaper. Is it a perfect world?
Like, is it a goal? Like, what if your goal was to learn to...
There's never a perfect world, though, because people always fucking complain, as we know.
But it's more the material world versus the experience world. Like you say, you have a goal. What's your goal? I want to be a race car driver. Well, you can't be a race car driver. You're 34 years old. You can't... It's like, but I can do it in the game.
You can do it in the game, yeah.
I can do it in the game where I'm still going to have to take 6 months. I'm still going to have to practice. Like, it's not something where you can just implant into your head that you're a race car driver.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can give you the Silverstone track.
Yeah.
And I can give you an F1 car that has all the physics completely perfect. And you can practice until you can drive that damn car.
Yeah.
And it's like...
I'll take that.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Like, you can put in as much effort into the game as you would in the real world.
Yeah.
It's just like you said, it's that crossover point of, can you do it and still feed yourself?
Yeah, well, and if you can go as far as, like, we can give you this real car and you're going to, the implants, you're going to feel the cold, the heat. I think if they've got that tech, they must have some kind of tech. They'll just put you on a drip.
You just go straight in, saline drips for everybody.
But yeah, it's scary where it will go, but also super exciting. I think it's exciting for us, not so...
No,
exciting for us because we're seeing the beginning of it. Like, it's funny because we didn't see the beginning. Our dad saw like Pong, in those early games or whatever, or before that, whatever the first game was, and they were like, oh, computer games, and now we're experiencing those things in a virtual reality. But what they saw in Pong, like, it's super basic. Like, that's what we're seeing in VR.
I think we are the first ones to see human computer connections.
Yeah.
Like, Pong would be, you just press a button and do it. Kind of, it's like a board game.
Yeah.
Even Nintendo, Sega, they're cool, but they're lights on a screen. Now that we're putting helmets on and you're physically interacting with the world, I think that's the first crossover.
Yeah.
Like Lawnmower Man.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just kind of we're the first generation that have ever interacted with something that is not real. Like, TV is real and a computer is real and it's still separate from you.
Yeah.
But like VR, you physically put the helmet on and it's on your eyes and it's messing with your vision.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing we always go into. You can watch it on the screen, the TV, and it just looks flat and it looks like a game.
Yeah.
Then when you put it on, you're getting all the depth. You're getting all this thing.
100%,
yeah. Like, I think we're right at the birth of something that could be pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Could change the whole society.
I think it will. I really do. But in baby steps, and it might take 50 years to get there.
Yeah.
Smaller headsets and wider viewer vision and stuff like that, field of vision. But
or 5 years, who knows?
So, we predict things on here. So the original question, do we think we'll end up like Ready Player One? I don't think the whole world will, but I reckon there'll be parts. There'll be people that will be living in VR. Certainly there will be people living in VR longer than they do with it off.
I definitely think there'll be a whole, just like you with your crates.
Yeah.
There will be a whole subculture. Not even like subculture, like a few of them. There'll be thousands.
Well, thousands. We got internet casts right
people
now.
People who have a job in VR.
Yeah. That's another whole thing.
Yeah.
And you'll be video conferencing, or you might be twitching the whole time in it.
Yeah.
But
you're a teacher.
Your Twitch room where you're playing a game is your room, and you've got everyone else sitting in the room with you, like a cinema almost, looking at your big screen or something. You're on a football field playing, but then everyone in the stadium, because you're a massive Twitch user, is literally someone in the stadium, and then they're all like, just it's the possibilities.
Well, that's the other crazy thing of VR is, like you said, just when you said someone sitting with you and you're playing Twitch, is that you could have 10,000 people in that seat.
Yeah.
It's just, as long as
but
you
it's
cycle
just one. Yeah.
For them,
you can make it a nice personal room. There could be 10,000 people listening to us now.
Yeah.
But it's just you and I in a room. But,
and they're sitting right there.
And they're sitting right there. Yeah.
But that's happening for 10,000 people at once.
Yeah.
And it's as long as there's no interaction expected.
Yeah.
But there's like, oh yeah, I'm in the room and I'm watching him do this and that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird system. This, like, oh, what do you do for work? I'm a VR.
Yeah.
What's that mean? It's like I put on a VR and I go in there and I teach these kids all these lessons, and then I make some money.
If we ever get another Oculus, we'll do a VR podcast. Hey guys, thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, click the subscribe button.
Yeah, and as always, you can check out the full episode on iTunes, or here it's going to be posted usually every weekend. Thanks for listening.
Oh yeah.